We're discussing growing concerns around safety in Shannon following a reported assault on a child in the town park in broad daylight. The incident has sparked renewed calls for action, particularly around the use of CCTV in public areas. Joining me now to discuss this are the Cratloe Fianna Fáil councillor and obviously from the Shannon Municipal District, Pat O'Gorman, and the Shannon Sinn Féin representative, Shane Doody, with us as well this morning. Pat, can you give us an overview of this recent incident and why it has raised alarm in the community?
Hello, Alan. Hello, Shane. Hello, listeners. Well, I suppose, first of all, Alan, I'm sorry to hear that any young fella would be assaulted in the town park. One incident like this is one too much. It was reported there over the weekend on social media, as you have pointed out, the way there was a young fella assaulted by other young lads in the park in Shannon. And I suppose that's really the background to it. And then it kind of went from there about looking for CCTV cameras and things like that. And looking for CCTV cameras in the park. There's actually cameras in the park already that was put in there back when the park officially opened back in 1999. And the cameras can't be turned on because of GDPR and because the regulations aren't in place yet. There was a Digital Recording Device Act in 2003. It was actually signed off on the 5th of December 2003. And to this day, it hasn't been put into operation yet. So as a municipal district, I spoke to our chief executive officer last night on the phone. And again this morning, I'm actually at a meeting in Shannon here as I speak to you here in the Park Hotel. But the county council are negotiating with the Garda at the moment to see can they put a policy in place. The corporate policy group and the Garda are meeting on a regular basis. But it's not proven to be as easy as we thought it might be once the act was put in place back in December 2023.
Yeah, and Shane, this is something you've been calling for as well, for these CCTV cameras to be switched on. It's incredible they've been there that long. And Pat's referred to the Digital Recording Devices Act of 2023. The cameras put in well before then, but they have been lying dormant because Part 5 of this particular piece of legislation hasn't kicked in. We know in order for them to be authorised, the Garda Commissioner has to submit a code of practice to the Minister for Justice, and that has to be approved before the local authority can apply for permission to operate the cameras. So that's the background to it, but it must be frustrating for locals when you see incidents like this happening and knowing the cameras are there and they're just lying idle.
Yeah, definitely, Alan. And, you know, people have been expressing their frustration over this and on social media as well. And I understand that Part 5 of this Act needs to be commenced before, you know, local authorities can act. So I suppose the onus here is on the government and is on the Minister for Justice to make sure that this is brought forward. Again, you know, this hasn't seemed to be a priority for the Minister, you know, since this legislation has been brought forward. And, you know, I think in a recent parliamentary question, the Minister said that he was expecting that the Part 5 would be commenced in summer of this year. I'm not sure if that's going to go ahead. Hopefully it will. I feel like now people are just kind of a bit withered with, you know, incidents going on in the park, and there not being cameras there to allow guards then to, you know, follow up and do investigations and so on.
Yeah, and I would imagine not just frustrating for locals, but also for the guards themselves, who could really make full use of whatever footage they get from that on incidents like this. And indeed, I've no doubt we'll hear more about this particular assault in Garda Focus later on this morning's programme. But Pat, you know, I touched on a local community group sharing their frustration and concern over this incident and the lack of use of CCTV on Facebook. And I would imagine it's quite representative of the local community there. And there must be a deep frustration that the CCTV cameras have been in place for as long as you outlined, and a child reportedly assaulted, and cameras there could have been useful in this incident, but it's been held up.
Yeah, well, if the Minister and the Garda Commissioner got their act together and got the legislation put in place where we could roll out the cameras, because I've been on your programmes several times, Alan, there in morning folk talking about illegal dumping and black spots. We have the east on the town park end. But we have other issues around the whole municipal district, whether it is a black spot on top of Gallis Hill or whether it is stuff that's dumped in Shannon around the Louvre Walk or whatever. If we could have this legislation in place where we could put in our portable cameras, it happened years ago where you could put up a sign on the side of a road saying portable cameras in operation in this area. You could have them in the town park, you could have them spread around the municipal district, and it would alleviate a lot of these issues, because I do think that if the gang of children that was involved in this assault at the weekend, if they knew that there was a camera there and they knew that footage could be shown to their parents afterwards, I think it would be a great deterrent and would stop a lot of this, because a lot of it is just groups of children when they get together, just, I suppose, bullying and whatever else, other words you want to use, maybe a child or two on their own. And hopefully it won't escalate any further than that, because I can tell you I'm in Shannon since I was 12 years of age, going to school in the comprehensive, and I'm working in Shannon every day since. And 99.9% of the people in Shannon are the finest people you will ever meet. I'm working with them every day. You couldn't get better people. It's only a minority of people that's causing the antisocial behaviour. And from my information, from talking to people on the ground, it seems to be the same kind of group of people all the time that seems to be involved in anything to do with antisocial behaviour around the town park. Because I got a call from a woman, and she didn't want to go on social media on Sunday. She's actually a school teacher in Shannon, and she said that her son, a 12 or 13-year-old boy, had to run out of the park where somebody threw a bottle. He said he didn't know for definite whether a bottle or a can, but there's something in that line at him, and he actually had to run out of it on Saturday or Sunday as well. So it seems to be, from what I'm hearing on the ground, as I said, the same handful of young fellas the whole time that seems to be causing all the hassle.
Yeah, and Shane, just how frequent are antisocial incidents of antisocial behaviour like that, and indeed this reported assault as well in Shannon Town Park? And has there been a particular increase in those kind of incidents in recent times, or has it just been quite regular, or maybe even irregular?
Yeah, well, look, Alan, I've grown up and I've lived in Shannon all my life, and when I was growing up, I never felt unsafe in any area of the town, even at any time of the night or the day. So it has seemed to become more of a regular occurrence that we're seeing, a spike in criminality, and we're seeing these assaults, especially around the park, and those kind of hotspots becoming more common, unfortunately. And, as well as other types of crime as well, in terms of robbing and intimidation on people working in shops and things like that. And what we're hearing, and what I'm hearing from people, is that they are crying out for a more visible Garda presence within, because the Garda station is right beside the park. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to have a few more patrols within those areas during the day and during the night. It would be great to have, if we could have more patrols around the town centre as well, for those shops and things like that. So I suppose that has to be taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, ultimately, the CCTV authorisation path would be fantastic, albeit it's been a long, long wait. But in the meantime, while still waiting for that to happen, in terms of immediate measures that could be taken to potentially make the park safer, increased Garda presence, would you be calling for that as well, particularly given, as Shane has touched on, their proximity to that location?
Yeah, and I actually had, we as a group of councillors had a meeting with the guards in the Park Hotel there, I suppose maybe a month or two ago at this stage. But one thing I would like to say to the listeners out there as well today, because people are a bit flippant in relation to reporting things. Maybe they think it's too small, maybe they think it's not sufficient enough to worthy ringing the guards or whatever. But the guards did tell us at that meeting that anything that's happening on the ground should be reported with the 999 number. That goes into the system, and that's fed back. We'll just say, for instance, that there's an incident in Shannon. That's fed back to the Garda station in Shannon. The more complaints and the more things that are reported to the guards, then the guards have a better chance of getting more boots on the ground. But if people are saying, it's only a young fella, it's only this, or it's only that, it's not recorded, it's not put into the system, and it never happened in the guards' eyes. Yeah, so the more reporting of incidents, the better. And it has to be through 999, not ringing the Garda station in Shannon or 6 Mile Bridge or Killaloo, just straight to 999, and that's a centralised place that brings it back to the likes of Shannon or whatever after.
And Pat, one of the reasons you didn't mention as to why people might not flag up particular incidents happening is perhaps some of them feel that nothing will come of them reporting it. And I don't mean that as a slight on the guards in Shannon, but just maybe they feel it won't be dealt with. I'm sure some people feel that way.
Yeah, they probably do, but the thing about it is, if we want to increase Garda numbers in Shannon, well, then the more reporting of crime that's going on in the area. I'm talking about Cracklow, 6 Mile Bridge, Newmarket, because Shannon covers a big area. It's not only the town of Shannon. The more incidents that are reported, however minor it is, that has a better chance then to feedback through the system and for extra Gardaí to be put on the ground in the town of Shannon. Because we've often heard of incidents that was, just say, a crash on the motorway. The guards from Shannon go to that. There might be no squad guard in the town of Shannon for 4 or 5 hours while they're outside dealing with the incident on the motorway. So that's how tight the numbers are in Shannon at the moment. They're often ringing for help from the likes of Limerick Arenas to come down. Depending on what happens, we're also dealing with an international airport. There's 10,000 people, I said it before, living in Shannon. 10,000 more people coming to work in Shannon, and you also have an international airport on the doorstep as well. You've only the one Garda station.
Shane, the CCTV itself, I think you mentioned it was installed in 1999. We're here in 2026 waiting for them to be turned on. Hopefully the green light will be given on that particular call sooner rather than later, especially as we're talking about incidents such as this reported assault on this child in Shannon Town Park. But even if it happened tomorrow, another issue, potential issue, is that there's no guarantees the technology would still work given it's been lying dormant for so long.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the kicker, Alan, as well, that they've been up there for so long and they haven't been in operation, so we don't actually know, are they still viable? You know, I know cameras, and especially CCTV cameras, they can have a shelf life, and they haven't been in operation, so, you know, that would be a concern of mine as well. And, then that's money wasted. That's taxpayers' money that's after been wasted, and that's not the county council's fault either, because they're tied by the legislation, and they're waiting on their hands for the government to commence Part 5 of the Digital Recording Devices Act. So I suppose that is another concern, and the CCTV isn't a be all and end all either, but it's there so that it can act pass that as a deterrent, and people then can they might have a sense of confidence in being able to go back and use the park again. I've had people come and speak to me and say that they don't feel safe anymore in a town. And a town, I'm talking about people who've grown up in the town for about 40, 50 years, and they're telling me that they don't feel safe walking through, their own town park. And to me, that's absolutely disgraceful, and we really need to get this sorted as soon as we can. So that means CCTV up and operational. That means more Garda patrols within the park and within, the town centre as well, so that people can again feel, safe within their town park, and that we can hopefully see a decrease in the incidences that we are seeing currently.
Yeah, Pat, it does seem a bit ridiculous that technology like that can be in place for the bones of 3 decades and still not be in use. And as Shane says, even if hopefully they are given the go-ahead to be turned on sometime in the near future, there's a chance they mightn't work, and there's extra outlay, extra money to be spent on installing new CCTV cameras, and that's been a waste of money. I mean, it was a prudent move to put them up there in the first place, but it's just incredible that this far along, they still aren't in use.
Well, the town park opened in November of 2019, and it cost 1.5 million to put in place, and the cameras were put up around that time. But from the meetings we've had with Garda Síochána and our own staff, I believe that the cameras won't be any good, Alan, when they come in operation, because they will be so far behind the technology that's there now at the moment. I suppose Alan, just to talk about the park again, I brought my own 2 grandchildren back there last Saturday week, and the fun that they had inside with their bikes and their tricycles going around the place, and it's a facility that you'd hate to see being lost to the people of Shannon because of a couple of tugs, for a better way of putting it. Like, we have the loop walk in Shannon. There's lovely facilities for people to get fresh air in Shannon, get out with their children and themselves walking their dog or whatever. I walk the loop walk there regularly now, and you'd meet all the people that I went to school with and everything else. And it's a lovely place to get out and about. You would hate to think for 1 minute that 1% of a population could bring down the other 99%. Because, as I said already, the people of Shannon are the nicest people you'll meet. It would be an awful pity to think that the park wouldn't be utilised to its full capacity because of a couple of tugs that's hanging around there every now and again. And I will be talking to the guards again, because I think if the guards would spend a bit more time walking around the park and walking around the town centre area of Shannon, where this antisocial behaviour is happening, it could alleviate a lot of the issues. I think foot on the ground is better than driving around in the squad car, I think, every day of the week.
Just to finish with you then, Shane, how likely do you think that is? I'm sure local, the likes of yourself and local representatives like Pat will be pushing for this, but is it a likely outcome?
Look, hopefully, I know resources are stretched thin, but like Pat said, I think boots on the ground are the best thing to restore confidence, and anyone who's lost confidence, I suppose, in their own safety using the park. And it's a fantastic facility, and we need to make sure that people feel safe using it.
Okay, we do have to leave it there, but would love to hear from locals as well on your experience of using Shannon Town Park and what you thought Pat and Shane had to say. My thanks to the Shannon Municipal District Councillor, the Cratloe Fianna Fáil Councillor Pat O'Gorman, and the Shannon Sinn Féin representative Shane Doody for joining us this morning.